Today we're going to learn about foiling. It's a way to do distributive multiplication. And it's an acronym. The word FOIL, F-O-I-L, means first, outer, inner, and last. And you're multiplying each one of those steps. And that's when you have a binomial. A binomial, remember, is two terms times two terms. So when you have a binomial, you can use what's called the FOIL method. When I was in school, we learned the face method. And I will show you when it's done, it's going to look a little bit like a face. And depending on how old you are, it's either Ross Perot, Stewie from Family Guy, or Hey Arnold. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to do 6 of them. And these are, you could do this with any binomial. So first, that's our first. So we're going to say x times x. X times x is x squared. Outer, I do outer and inner on the bottom, and it kind of creates the smile. So you have x times 1. That's 1x. We'll put 1x for right now. Note that we never see a 1 usually. And then the inner, 5x, so plus 5x. And then the outer, or last, 5 times 1 is plus 5. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 times x is 1x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, this is a long expression that we need to simplify. So we look for anything that's alike. We have an x squared, we have 2 x's, and we have a 5. These two are common. We can combine them. So you have x squared plus 6x plus 5. That would be this one FOILed. Okay, let's do another one. So if you notice, these are his ears, his head, nose, and mouth. And that's important because when we get ready to do the reverse FOIL, or what they call factoring, I ask you to do CPR, which is a nose and mouth check. So it's helpful to have the nose and mouth. It's the same, and so we'll do another one. So first, x times x is x squared. Outer, 10 times x plus 10x. Inner, minus 5 times x is minus 5x. Last, minus 5 times 10 is minus 50. Because a minus times a positive is a minus. Or a negative. Negative and minuses can be used interchangeably. Just kind of, it's like read and read. Depends on where you're using it in the sentence. So now we can look to see, can we combine anything? Yes, we can. So we'll say x squared. 10 take away 5 is plus 5x minus 50. So that's the second one. Sometimes you're not going to just get like x's. Sometimes they'll use y's, or they'll use other letters, and sometimes it won't be just letters. It'll be letter number combos. So first, 1 times 4 is 4. Y times y is y squared. So y times 4y is 4y squared. You multiply the coefficients, and then you multiply the letters. Outer, minus 1 times y is minus 1y. Inner, minus 6 times 4 is minus 24y. Last, minus 6 times minus 1, a minus times a minus is a plus. 6 times 1 is 6. So we look and we go, oh, we can combine these. So I have 4y squared minus y minus 24. Remember, you debited $1, you debited $24, you now are in the hole $25. So you're minus 25y plus 6. Because a minus and a minus is a bigger minus. Now we go down here, it can be done with fractions as well. So then you have to know your fraction rules a little bit. But you have first, x times x is x squared. Last, outer, 2/3 times x is plus 2/3 x. Minus 1/3 times x is minus 1/3 x. And minus 1/3 times positive 2/3. When you multiply fractions, one we have a minus because minus times a positive is a negative. 1/3 times 2/3, we multiply the tops, 1 times 2. We multiply the bottoms, 3 times 3, and we get minus 2/9. Now we need to combine like terms. These are both x's, so we can do that. They were nice. They kept the bottoms the same. So 2/3 take away 1/3 is 1/3 x. Bring along everything else in front. X squared plus 1/3 x minus 2/9. Remember the symbol, whether it's plus or minus, every number has one. If you see the minus, you see it. If it's at the front of the line, you don't see the minus, but you don't see the plus, but it exists. So we don't see a plus here, but there is a plus there. We don't see a plus here, but there is a plus there. It goes invisible if we don't need to see it. Otherwise, you should always see it. You can also do this with decimals. And then you have to remember the decimal rules. First, so we have 0.4 times 0.2. We're multiplying decimals, so we count up our decimal spots. We have 2 decimal places. 4 times 2 is 8, but I have 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 0.08. And there's no letter this time. Letters were not at the front of this one. That's okay. The process doesn't change. Outer, minus 5a times 0.4. A times nothing, so we're going to have an a in there. We have a minus times a positive, so we're going to be in a negative situation, so we can figure that out. And we know we have an a, now we just have to deal with the numbers. 5 times 4 is 20, but we have 1 decimal point, so we're going to have basically 2. Because 20 raised with 1 decimal place is a 2. So we have 2a, inner, a minus times positive again is another negative. Again, I have 1 decimal place, and I have an a. I have 1 decimal place, so I'm going to say 2 times 3 is 6, but I'm going to have 0.6. Because I have 1 decimal place. And last, minus times a minus is a positive. A times a is a squared. And negative 5 times 3 is 15. So we can combine like terms. And so this one's backwards, and that's okay. A minus and a minus is a bigger minus. So I'm going to have 2.6a, so I add them together, plus 15a squared. Generally speaking, you don't see them backwards like this, but they can happen, so you should see that that can happen. And then the last one, just to demonstrate tonight, is this one. This one's got 2 different letters. We have x's and y's. The process doesn't change. You still FOIL. First, x times 3x, 3x squared. Outer, x times negative y. So you have a positive times a negative, so we have a negative. And x times y is xy. Just stick them together. Inner, we have a positive times a positive, so we're going to have a plus. And we have 4 times 3, which is 12, and x times y, which is xy. Generally speaking, when you have multiple letters, they're in alphabetical order. That's the way you'll see them. Last, 4y times negative y, so you have it's plus times a minus is a minus. 4 times 1 is 4, and y squared. So we have combined like terms right there, because we have x, y's. And you have 3x squared. Basically, 12 take away 1, so we have plus 11 xy minus 4y squared. And so that one, the other one that you might see that uses is when you actually get rid of something, there will be something missing. You'll cancel out those that middle value will cancel out. That can happen, and we'll see some of those when we do some others. But that gives you an idea of what first, outer, inner, last means for foiling. So you can write that on your paper, and that's a note you would take with you. And you just tell yourself each step. Thank you.